So the ONO-4059 is a new BTK inhibitor which we've been running the phase 1 in Plymouth as well as a number of other sites. And there are two presentations here on the drug. Firstly, the CLL, where 25 patients were treated with some very impressive response rates. In fact, 22 of the 25 patients are still on drug. So very active, very well tolerated, very like Ibrutinib, well tolerated drug. But I think the impressive thing is that patients responded at all dose levels and are continuing on drug. I treated the first two patients with CLL on that trial, and both of my patients who were 17p deleted are still on drug. So impressive. The other presentation is the same drug in the context of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was a broad phase 1 trial. And I guess that the key messages there, very like Ibrutinib, is it's active in mantle cell lymphoma and ABC subtype diffuse large B cell, as well as Waldenstrom's, but most of the data that's being presented today is on mantle cell and diffuse large B. In mantle, 50% response rate, which is very good, and in diffuse large B cell, 60%, which is possibly better than Ibrutinib. It's small numbers. So a good drug, well tolerated, slightly less lymphocytosis, whether that's a significant factor or not, but broadly speaking, the toxicity, the efficacy look on a par with Ibrutinib. So it's good to have other BTK inhibitors that are coming that we'll be able to use in the clinic. Yeah, Ibrutinib is BTK inhibition seems to be a really important target for some certain diseases. So CLL, mantle cell, diffuse large B cell, and Waldenstrom's. It's very much a game changer, certainly in my field in mantle cell lymphoma, whereas an oral therapy with really very modest toxicity, 70% of patients respond. At this meeting, I've got a poster looking at the long-term toxicity of Ibrutinib in the phase 2 study, which was 111 patients with mantle cell lymphoma. And a quarter of those patients are still on drug over 2 years out now. And what that poster shows is the toxicity of the drug if you carry on over a long period of time. And what it shows is no new emerging toxicities, and the toxicities that are there seem to get better with time. So the ones that people know about, the diarrhea, for the first time, this actually documents how much diarrhea there is when it happens and when it resolves. And basically, it comes on within the first week or towards the end of the first week, and it takes about 5 days to resolve. So it's very short-lived. Some patients do continue to have slight problems with it, but broadly, what we find is after 6 months, a lot of these things are going away. The one toxicity that seems to be constant is the bleeding, and about 5% of people get significant bleeds, but those are broadly bruising. There have been a couple of subdural hematomas, but those happened very early on in the trial. There have been no more of those, and those patients all basically had head injuries, and so that may or may not be completely related. So bleeding is still something to be thought about, but isn't really a major issue from the patient's perspective, but very well tolerated drug. And as I said, a quarter of patients who were multiply pre-treated are still on it today and continuing on the trial.